The message arrived while the bass from the rooftop party still rattled the glass in my hand. Unknown number. If you're Daniel Carter, leave now. Don't make a scene. Just trust me. I stared at the screen. Around me, laughter exploded as someone uncorked another bottle of champagne. Colored lights swept across the crowded rooftop, painting fake smiles in blue and violet. At the center of it all stood my girlfriend, Chloe. She had promised this party was for her promotion. She had promised we would leave together. She had promised a lot of things over the last 3 years. Danny. Chloe waved from across the crowd with the brightest smile I'd seen all week. There you are. She hurried over, wrapped both hands around my arm, and kissed my cheek. You look miserable. She laughed softly. Come on. Tonight is important. I know. So smile. Her perfume smelled exactly like the one I'd bought her on our second anniversary. A strange bitterness rose in my throat. The anonymous text still glowed on my phone. Leave now. Everything okay? She asked. I looked into her eyes. If someone had shown me that message a month ago, I would have laughed. Now, I wasn't so sure. I suddenly remembered I promised my brother I'd help him tonight. Her smile stiffened for barely half a second. So you're leaving? I'll make it up to you. She searched my face. Are you angry? No. You promise? I promise. She hugged me tightly. So sweet. She whispered into my ear. Drive safely. Not once did she ask me to stay. That was the first crack. The elevator doors closed. The music disappeared. Silence wrapped around me. I looked at my reflection in the stainless steel wall. 30 years old. Average salary. Software engineer. 3 years in a relationship. One engagement ring hidden inside my apartment closet. I smiled at myself. What am I doing? The phone vibrated again. Another message. This time, a video. No sender. No words. Only 32 seconds long. My thumb hovered over the play button. Then I stopped. No. Whatever it was. I didn't want to watch it inside an elevator. I shoved the phone into my pocket. Outside, cold night air slapped my face. Rain had started falling. Perfect. I walked toward my car without looking back once. 20 minutes later, I sat alone in my apartment. The silence felt heavier than the rain tapping against the windows. I finally opened the video. The recording was shaky. Whoever filmed it was hiding behind decorative plants near the rooftop lounge. At first, I couldn't understand what I was seeing. Then Chloe walked into frame. She wasn't alone. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit wrapped an arm around her waist. Jason Reed, real estate investor, social media darling. The same man Chloe had called just a client. She laughed. Not politely, not professionally, intimately. His fingers brushed her hair behind her ear. Then he kissed her, slowly, like they'd done it many times before. My chest tightened. The video ended. I replayed it. Again, again, again. Every replay hurt less. Not because the pain faded, because disbelief slowly died. The truth replaced it. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. 3 years. Late night overtime so she could chase promotions. Canceled trips because her meetings mattered. Loans I'd quietly paid when she struggled after changing jobs. I never asked for repayment. Because that's what partners did. At least, that's what I believed. The phone rang. Chloe. I watched it vibrate until it stopped. Then another call. Then another. Finally a message appeared. Chloe, where are you? Everyone's asking about you. I laughed. Not loudly. Just enough to surprise myself. Everyone. Or just Jason wondering whether I'd interrupt. I placed the phone face down. 5 minutes later. It buzzed again. A different number. Unknown. She thinks nobody saw them. There was one attached photo. Jason's hand rested on Chloe's lower back while she adjusted his tie. Neither looked embarrassed. Neither looked drunk. Neither looked surprised. Comfort. Routine. Practice. That hurt more than the kiss. At midnight, Chloe finally came over. She knocked softly. Danny. Silence. Danny, open the door. I unlocked it without speaking. She rushed inside, slightly breathless. You scared me. Did I? You disappeared. I told you I was leaving. You've never ignored my calls. I nodded. True. She stepped closer. Are you upset because I stayed longer? I looked at her carefully. Her lipstick had been reapplied. Different shade. Fresh. Not the one she'd worn earlier. Tiny detail. Huge answer. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Confusion crossed her face. Danny, I'm tired. You're acting strange. Maybe. She frowned. Can we please not fight? Who's fighting? I. She hesitated, then smiled again. The same practiced smile. I missed you. For the first time in 3 years. Those words sounded rehearsed. She moved toward the kitchen as though nothing had happened. I brought cake from the party. She lifted a white pastry box. Your favorite chocolate mousse. I looked at it for a long moment. I don't want any. You always want cake. People change. She laughed awkwardly. You're impossible tonight. Maybe. Or maybe I was finally seeing clearly. She opened the refrigerator anyway, humming softly while placing the box inside. Normal. Everything looked painfully normal. She even complained about the rain soaking her shoes. For a moment, I wondered whether guilt simply didn't exist inside her, or whether she'd convinced herself she wasn't doing anything wrong. She turned around. So, when are you proposing? The question landed like a slap. I blinked. What? My friends keep teasing me. She smiled shyly. 3 years together. Isn't it about time? My eyes drifted toward the hallway closet. Inside, hidden beneath old winter coats. The engagement ring waited in its velvet box. I'd bought it 2 weeks earlier. Spent nearly every dollar I'd saved. Now it felt like someone else's dream. You've been quiet lately, she continued. I thought maybe you were planning something. Were. The single word escaped before I could stop it. Her smile froze. Were. I looked away. I haven't decided. She studied me carefully. Something in her expression shifted. Not sadness. Calculation. As if she were trying to identify what information I possessed. Danny, what? Do you trust me? An easy question. Yesterday, I would have answered without thinking. Tonight, I asked one instead. Do you trust me? She frowned. Why are you repeating my question? No reason. She crossed her arms. I don't like this version of you. I don't either. Silence settled between us. Then she sighed dramatically. You know how exhausting my new position is. I know. I meet clients every day. I know. Some people misunderstand professional networking. I know. She stared. You keep saying that. Because I know. Those 3 words finally unsettled her. Not enough to confess. Enough to worry. She forced another smile. I think you're overthinking. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't thinking enough. After she fell asleep on the couch, claiming she was too tired to drive home, I sat on the balcony. The city lights shimmered through light rain. My phone buzzed again. The unknown number. This time, a single sentence. Don't confront her yet. I frowned. Who are you? The typing bubble appeared almost immediately. Someone she underestimated. No name. No explanation. Just another file. An invoice. Hotel reservation. 2 names. Jason Reed. Chloe Morgan. Weekend booking. Lakeview Resort. 3 weeks ago. The same weekend she'd told me she was attending a women's leadership conference. I closed my eyes. There it was. Not suspicion. Not insecurity. Evidence. Enough to stop blaming myself. Enough to stop wondering whether I'd imagined the distance between us. Enough to understand that love could disappear long before people admitted it. I looked through the balcony window. Chloe slept peacefully beneath my blanket. She looked innocent, fragile, almost vulnerable. Appearances were dangerous. My gaze settled on the framed photograph beside the television. Us, smiling on a beach. She'd written on the back, "Forever begins today." I walked inside, picked up the frame, removed the photograph, folded it once, then twice, dropped it into the trash. No shouting, no broken plates, no dramatic accusations, just a quiet decision. Tomorrow, I would stop protecting someone who had stopped protecting us long ago. As I turned off the living room light, Chloe stirred awake. Danny, her sleepy voice barely reached me. She smiled without opening her eyes. Love you. I stood in the darkness. The words that had once come naturally refused to leave my mouth. Seconds stretched into an unbearable silence. Finally, she opened one eye. Danny, I hope, I said quietly. One day neither of us has to lie so easily. Her eyes snapped fully open. What does that mean? I didn't answer. The fear spreading across her face told me something had finally changed. And for the first time that night, she was no longer certain she was in control. Morning arrived without mercy. I woke to the smell of coffee. For one disorienting second, I almost believed nothing had happened. Then I saw the empty space where our beach photograph had stood. Reality returned. Chloe stood in my kitchen wearing one of my oversized shirts. She moved comfortably, as though she still belonged there. "You're awake." She smiled. "I made breakfast." I looked at the neatly arranged plates. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit. Exactly the meal she only prepared when she wanted something. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." She placed a mug in front of me. "You've been stressed." "So have you." She searched my expression. "You still seem distant." "I'm thinking about us. About everything." She bit her lip. "Danny, I have work. You always make time for me." "I used to." The sentence slipped out before I could soften it. She lowered her eyes. "I know I haven't been perfect lately. No one's perfect. But I love you." There was again. The same words. The same timing. The same practiced warmth. I stir my coffee slowly. "Then why does it feel like you're trying to convince me?" Her fingers tightened around her mug. "What do you mean?" "I don't know." I looked up. Maybe I'm finally listening instead of believing. Silence. Outside, traffic rolled through the wet streets below. Inside, neither of us touched breakfast. Finally, she forced a laugh. "You become philosophical overnight." Maybe I just slept well. That wasn't true. I hadn't slept at all. When I reached the office, my best friend Marcus was already waiting beside my desk. "You look terrible." "I feel worse." "You sick?" "In a way." Marcus leaned against the cubicle wall. "We've been friends since college." "I know. So stop pretending." I hesitated, then unlocked my phone. I handed him the video. He watched the entire thing without speaking. When it ended, he handed the phone back very carefully. "I'll kill him." "No." "I mean it." "No." "And her." "No." Marcus stared at me. "You've changed." "I don't want revenge." "You should." "I want peace." "They don't deserve peace. They don't get to decide mine." He rubbed both hands over his face. "So what now?" "I stopped chasing someone who's already gone." He nodded slowly. "I can live with that." Then his expression hardened. "But promise me something." "What?" "Don't let her rewrite history." I looked at him. "I won't." Just before lunch, Chloe called. I let it ring. She called again. Then she sent a message. "Dinner tonight?" I typed. "Busy." 3 dots appeared instantly. "Tomorrow?" "Busy." Did I do something wrong? I stared at the screen. Hundreds of possible replies crossed my mind. Instead, I locked the phone. Sometimes silence forced people to hear themselves. That evening, Marcus insisted I join him at a neighborhood sports bar. "You've been hiding behind work." "I like work. You also like breathing." He ordered burgers before I could object. Halfway through dinner, a familiar laugh echoed from the entrance. Marcus noticed my expression first. "What?" I nodded toward the doorway. Chloe, Jason, walking side by side. Neither had seen us yet. Jason rested one hand casually on the small of her back. Exactly as in the photograph. Exactly as in the video. Marcus muttered something under his breath. "You want to leave?" I reached for my jacket, then stopped. "No, I'm not running." We stayed. A waiter led them to a table across the room. Not hidden, not private, bold, confident. They believed no one who mattered would see them. Jason leaned closer. She smiled. He whispered something. She laughed so hard she covered his mouth with her hand. Marcus gripped his glass. "I hate him." "I know. You okay?" I watched quietly. "No, but I will be." Across the room, Chloe finally looked up. Her smile disappeared instantly. She had seen me. For several seconds, neither of us moved. The restaurant noise faded into a distant blur. Jason continued talking, unaware that Chloe had gone pale. "Danny," Marcus whispered. "She's coming." She stood so abruptly that her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Jason frowned. "Everything okay?" I'll be right back." She crossed the room quickly. "Danny." I looked at her calmly. "What a coincidence. You didn't answer my messages." "I was eating." "You could have told me you were coming here." "I didn't know I needed permission." She glanced nervously toward Jason. "It's not what it looks like." I almost smiled. "I haven't said it looked like anything." Her breathing became uneven. "He's a client." "Still, what does that mean?" "It means you've introduced him as a client for 6 months." She folded her arms. "You don't trust me." "I trust patterns." Her face stiffened. Marcus stood. "I'll wait outside." I appreciated that. He understood this conversation belonged to me. Once he left, Chloe lowered her voice. You're embarrassing me. No, I'm talking to my girlfriend. People are watching. They usually do in restaurants. Danny, what? Please don't make this difficult. I looked at her for a long moment. When did it become difficult to expect honesty? She looked away. I can't explain everything. I didn't ask you to. She blinked. Aren't you going to ask why I'm here? No. Aren't you curious? I already know enough. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes. Enough. That single word frightened her more than anger would have. What do you know? Instead of answering, I stood. I have an early meeting tomorrow. I placed enough cash on the table for dinner. She reached for my wrist. Danny, wait. I gently removed her hand. Take care. Then I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Jason call her name. She didn't answer immediately. That hesitation spoke louder than any confession. Outside, rain had started again. Marcus leaned against his car. How'd it go? I think she's scared. Good. No. He frowned. I don't want fear. What do you want? The truth. We drove home in silence. Near midnight, my phone vibrated. Another message from the unknown number. She thinks you're bluffing. Another attachment followed. A screenshot. Jason texting Chloe. Jason, relax. He won't leave you. Guys like him never do. A second message appeared beneath it. Chloe, I know. He's too loyal. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Too loyal. Not loving. Not kind. Not dependable. Just predictable. Someone whose forgiveness had become part of her routine. For years, I'd mistaken endurance for love. Now I understood the difference. A final message arrived from the unknown sender. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Harbor Hotel. Conference Room B. Come alone if you want the rest of the truth. I read the address 3 times. Whoever had been sending me evidence knew far too much. I typed one question. Who are you? Several moments passed. Then a reply came. Someone Jason betrayed before he chose Chloe. I set the phone down slowly. The game I thought involved only 3 people had just become much larger. And somewhere beyond the lies, someone else had been waiting patiently for the right moment to expose everything. Conference Room B sat at the end of a quiet hallway inside Harbor Hotel. The carpet muffled every footstep. The walls were lined with framed abstract paintings that somehow made the silence feel even heavier. I checked my watch. 6:58 p.m. 2 minutes early. The door opened before I could knock. A woman in a charcoal blazer looked up from a stack of folders. You came. She was around 35, composed, with sharp eyes that had clearly learned not to trust people easily. You've been texting me. I have. You know my name? I know much more than that. I remained near the doorway. You still haven't told me yours. She closed the folder. Emily Foster. The name meant nothing to me. I worked for Jason Reed for 4 years. That explained the confidence. He fired you? A humorless smile crossed her face. I resigned after discovering what he was doing. And what exactly was that? She slid a thick envelope across the table. Read. Inside were printed bank statements, contracts, property transfers, hotel receipts, corporate expense reports. Every page carried Jason's name. Several also carried Chloe's. I frowned. This isn't just an affair. Emily nodded. No. She leaned forward. Jason never dates women because he falls in love. Then why? He recruits them. I looked up. What? He finds ambitious professionals with good reputations. She spoke without emotion, as though repeating facts she'd already accepted. He uses them to build trust with investors. I don't understand. He lets them believe they're special. Then he convinces them to introduce wealthy friends, executives, potential partners. A cold realization settled inside me. Networking. Exactly. I thought about Chloe's promotion, the expensive dinners, the sudden luxury clothes she could somehow afford, the endless client meetings. Emily watched my expression carefully. You're beginning to connect the dots. Where do I fit? She opened another folder. You designed cybersecurity software. Yes. Jason wanted access to the company developing it. My heartbeat slowed. No, that couldn't be. You work for Novalink. I do. Jason has tried buying confidential information from 3 different employees. I refused every offer because nobody ever made one. Emily shook her head. They didn't approach you directly. She looked me straight in the eyes. They approached Chloe. The room felt suddenly smaller. Every conversation from the past year replayed inside my head. Danny, can you explain your company's new encryption project? Danny, who approves overseas contracts? Danny, do executives really travel with prototype servers? At the time, I had answered casually. Never enough to violate policy, but enough for someone collecting pieces. Emily placed another document before me. An email. Printed. Deleted from company servers months ago. Jason's assistant had written, "Have Chloe keep him talking. Engineers always underestimate pillow conversations." My hands tightened around the paper. Not from rage. From disbelief. 3 years. Had every dinner been an interview? Every affectionate question another attempt to gather information? Emily's voice softened. I know what you're thinking. No, you think none of it could have been real. I stared at the page. Was any of it? She remained silent. That silence answered more honestly than words. I never sent classified information. I know. You investigated? I had to. Why? Because Jason framed you. The sentence hit harder than everything before it. What? Emily opened the final folder. Inside lay an internal complaint filed anonymously. My employee ID appeared at the top. The accusation. Unauthorized disclosure of proprietary information. Filed 3 weeks earlier. Exactly when Chloe claimed she was attending that leadership conference. Emily continued. The investigation is still confidential. I've never been questioned. Not yet. Then why? Because they're waiting for enough evidence. A chill ran down my spine. Someone wasn't merely destroying my relationship. They were preparing to destroy my career. I left Harbor Hotel, carrying the envelope beneath my arm. The evening air felt unusually cold. Halfway across the parking lot, my phone rang. Human Resources. I answered immediately. Daniel Carter speaking. Mr. Carter, this is Angela from Novalink Compliance. My grip tightened. Yes. We'd like to schedule a meeting tomorrow morning regarding an internal review. There it was. Right on time. 9 o'clock. That works. Thank you. The call ended. Emily hadn't exaggerated. Everything was already moving. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I read every page she'd given me. Again, then once more. The documents formed a pattern. Jason's companies never committed one obvious crime. They relied on dozens of small lies. Minor manipulations. Hidden reimbursements. Fake consulting invoices. Every individual piece seemed harmless. Together, they revealed fraud. Around 3 in the morning, Marcus arrived carrying coffee. I figured you'd be awake. You know me too well. He noticed the paperwork spread across my dining table. What happened? I told him everything, without interruption. When I finished, he remained silent for nearly a minute. Finally, he exhaled. This is bigger than cheating. Much bigger. They tried to use you. They're still trying. Marcus looked toward the window. What are you going to do? I thought carefully before answering. The truth doesn't need revenge. It needs proof. He smiled faintly. That's the Daniel I know. The next morning, compliance occupied the entire 9th floor. Angela greeted me professionally. Thank you for coming. A second man entered moments later. Michael Huang, corporate security. We shook hands. Neither smiled. Angela folded her hands. Mr. Carter, we'd like to discuss several unusual reports involving confidential projects. I understand. She watched me closely. You don't seem surprised. I'm not. Michael exchanged a quick glance with her. You expected this? I expected someone would eventually accuse me. Angela leaned forward. Why? Instead of answering immediately, I placed Emily's envelope on the conference table. I think these belong in your investigation. Both investigators looked down. Michael opened the first folder, then the second. His expression changed almost instantly. Angela stopped turning pages altogether. Where did you get these? A former employee of Jason Reed. Could she testify? I believe so. The room fell silent. Michael closed the folder carefully. Mr. Carter, yes. If these documents are authentic, they are. Then you're not the subject of our investigation anymore. I met his eyes. Who is? Before he could answer, someone knocked sharply on the conference room door. Angela frowned. "Come in." The door opened. A receptionist stepped inside, looking nervous. "There's someone insisting on seeing Mr. Carter." "Who?" She hesitated. "His girlfriend." A pause. "She says it's an emergency." Angela looked at me. "I didn't invite her." The receptionist swallowed. "She also isn't alone." "Who came with her?" The answer arrived quietly. "Jason Reed." The room became perfectly still. The conference room remained silent for several long seconds. Angela looked from the receptionist to me. "You know them?" "I do." Michael calmly closed the folder in front of him. "Tell them to wait." The receptionist nodded and disappeared. The door clicked shut. Angela folded her hands. "Mr. Carter, do you want us to postpone this meeting?" "No. You understand that whatever is happening outside is now connected to an active corporate investigation." "I understand." Michael's voice remained calm. "Would you prefer legal counsel before we continue?" "I've done nothing wrong." "I believe that." He tapped the stack of documents. "But from this point forward, everything matters." I nodded. "So let's finish." 30 minutes later, every document Emily had collected had been scanned into Novalink's evidence system. Michael leaned back in his chair. "We've already verified several invoice numbers." Angela added quietly, "They're genuine." She looked directly at me. "Daniel, someone tried very hard to make you the fall guy." The words should have shocked me. Instead, they simply confirmed what my heart had already accepted. I wasn't losing the woman I loved. I'd already lost her months ago. Only my ignorance had remained. A firm knock interrupted the room again. Michael stood. "I'll handle this." He opened the door. Jason Reed stood outside wearing an expensive navy suit and an effortless smile. Beside him, Chloe looked exhausted. She hadn't slept. Her mascara couldn't completely hide swollen eyes. Jason extended a hand. "Good morning." Michael ignored it. "This is a restricted floor." "I know. I'm here to speak with Daniel." "No." Jason chuckled. "I don't think you understand." Michael didn't move. "I understand perfectly." Jason's smile weakened. "I'm an investor. This building has many investors. I have business with him." Michael answered evenly. "Not today." Jason looked past him. "Daniel." I remained seated. He raised his voice slightly. "Can we talk?" "No." Chloe finally stepped forward. "Danny." Her voice cracked. "Please." For the first time, she sounded genuinely afraid. Not manipulative. Afraid. Michael glanced at me. "Your decision." I stood. 5 minutes. Angela frowned. "Mr. Carter." "They won't come inside." Michael nodded. "I'll stay here." The hallway felt strangely empty. Jason smiled the moment the conference room door closed behind me. "There you are. I have exactly 5 minutes." He slipped both hands into his pockets. "I think we've gotten off on the wrong foot." "We've never been on the same foot." He laughed. "I like confidence." "I don't care." His smile faded another degree. "You've misunderstood my relationship with Chloe." I looked at Chloe instead. She couldn't meet my eyes. "Interesting." Jason was speaking. She was hiding. "I don't think I've misunderstood anything." Jason sighed dramatically. "Adults become close." "They do." "Business dinners happen." "They do." "People gossip." "They do." "So why destroy your relationship over assumptions?" I stared at him, then asked quietly, "How many women have you recruited?" His expression froze. "Barely. Only for a heartbeat." But I saw it. Chloe saw it too. She slowly turned toward him. "What did he say?" Jason recovered almost instantly. "I have no idea." I continued. "Emily Foster says hello." This time, his confidence disappeared completely. For the first time since we'd met, Jason looked uncertain. Not guilty. Calculating. Dangerous people rarely panicked immediately. They searched for escape routes. He smiled again, but the warmth was gone. "So she's involved." I didn't answer. He nodded slowly. "Underestimated her." "No." "You underestimated everyone." His jaw tightened. "I built everything I have. Using other people." He took one step closer. "You don't know how business works." "I know enough." "You think life is fair?" "I think consequences exist." He laughed once. "You sound self-righteous." "No." I just stopped making excuses for dishonest people. The hallway fell silent. Chloe looked between us. "Jason." He didn't respond. Instead, he looked directly into my eyes. What exactly do you have? I don't owe you that answer. You've already ruined enough. I almost smiled. No, you did. Chloe suddenly grabbed my arm. Danny. Her voice trembled. I need to explain. I gently removed her hand. You've had months. I was confused. No, I made mistakes. Yes, I never wanted to hurt you. I finally looked at her. The tears were real. The regret. Perhaps that was real too. But regret wasn't the same as honesty. You had countless opportunities. I know. You lied every time. I know. I believed you every time. She covered her mouth. I'm sorry. Those two words carried more weight than all her previous explanations, because they weren't followed by excuses. Only silence. I loved you. I know. I shook my head gently. Please don't. She closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I don't deserve another chance. No, I don't. Another long silence settled between us. Finally, she whispered. I kept telling myself I'd end it. But you didn't. I was afraid. Of losing me? She hesitated. That hesitation answered everything. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She'd been afraid of losing both lives at once. The conference room door opened. Michael stepped into the hallway. Mr. Reed. Jason turned. Yes. We've confirmed several financial records connected to your companies. Jason remained expressionless. So, we'll need you to accompany us for additional questioning. Jason laughed. On whose authority? Michael handed him an official document. Jason read exactly 2 lines. His face lost all color. This is impossible. It isn't. You can't freeze those accounts. We already have. Chloe stared at the document. What accounts? Jason ignored her. He immediately reached for his phone. No signal. Michael answered calmly. The network has been temporarily restricted on this floor. Jason looked around for the first time, like a trapped man. Not a powerful one. A trapped one. More footsteps echoed down the hallway. 2 investigators from the Financial Crimes Unit approached with briefcases in hand. One addressed Jason directly. Mr. Reed? Yes. We have additional questions regarding investor funds, fraudulent reimbursements, and corporate bribery. Jason forced a smile. There must be some misunderstanding. The investigator opened a folder. There were. He looked at the pages. Until this morning. Jason slowly turned toward me. Hatred burned openly across his face now. You. I met his gaze calmly. No. You built this. I stopped protecting it. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then the investigators escorted him toward the elevator. His expensive confidence disappeared with every step. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply walked away, finally unable to manipulate the room around him. The elevator doors closed. The hallway became quiet again. Chloe stood alone. For the first time in years, she had no one left to stand behind. The elevator doors closed with a soft metallic thud. No dramatic final words. No desperate threats. Just silence. Jason Reed had spent years controlling every room he entered. Now he had left one without controlling a single person. Chloe remained frozen in the hallway. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, emotionally. Without Jason's confidence beside her, she seemed like someone waking from a dream she had mistaken for reality. Michael approached me. Mr. Carter. Yes. You've been cooperative throughout this investigation. I only told the truth. That's exactly why I wanted to thank you. He handed me a business card. If anyone contacts you regarding this case, call me directly. I will. Angela offered a reassuring smile. We'll also notify your department that you're no longer under review. The weight that settled on my shoulders wasn't relief. It was exhaustion. For weeks, perhaps months, I had carried fears I couldn't even name. Now those fears finally had somewhere else to go. After the investigators left, only Chloe and I remained. She stared at the polished floor. I don't know where to begin. You don't have to. I owe you an explanation. You owe yourself honesty. She nodded slowly. I kept telling myself that nothing serious had happened. I waited. Every time Jason crossed another line, her voice shook. I convinced myself it would be the last. And was it? No. Another tear slipped down her cheek. It kept getting easier to lie. She wasn't asking for sympathy. She was describing how she had become someone she no longer recognized. I stopped seeing the person waiting for me at home. She looked up. I only saw what I wanted next. Promotion, luxury, recognition, status. I didn't need her to say the words. They were already written across her face. I don't hate you, Chloe. Her eyes widened. You don't? No. She broke down completely. I wish you did. Why? Because hatred would have meant you still felt something. I remained quiet. After a long silence, I answered honestly. I'll always remember loving you. She closed her eyes. But that isn't enough anymore. No, it never would be again. When I returned to my apartment that evening, everything felt strangely unfamiliar. The furniture hadn't moved. The books remained on the shelves. The coffee mugs still occupied the same cabinet. Only one thing had changed. I finally noticed how quiet my own home actually was. Not lonely. Peaceful. Marcus arrived carrying takeout. I brought enough food for 2 emotionally damaged adults. I laughed. The sound surprised both of us. There he is. Who? The guy who used to laugh. We spent hours talking. Not about Chloe. Not about Jason. About college. Terrible apartments. Our first programming jobs. Old dreams we'd forgotten. Around midnight, Marcus leaned back in his chair. So, what now? I looked around the apartment. For years, my plans always included someone else. And now, I think it's time I find out who I am without constantly trying to save somebody. Marcus raised his soda can. I'll drink to that. We clinked cans. A simple moment. One without betrayal. One without pretending. It felt surprisingly valuable. 3 months passed. Autumn quietly replaced summer. The investigation against Jason expanded into multiple companies. News articles appeared almost weekly. Former employees came forward. Investors filed lawsuits. Executives resigned. Each revelation exposed another layer of deception. I rarely read the articles anymore. Not because I didn't care, because my life had finally started moving in a different direction. Novalink promoted me to senior security architect. Not as compensation, not out of pity, because my work had always deserved it. The promotion came with more responsibility, a stronger team, and projects I genuinely enjoyed. For the first time in years, work felt exciting instead of exhausting. Emily joined Novalink as an external compliance consultant. Our friendship developed slowly, built on conversations, mutual respect, shared scars. Neither of us tried to fix the other. Neither of us confused kindness with obligation. One afternoon, she handed me a cup of coffee. I heard you're mentoring the new engineers. I am. They speak highly of you. They're talented. She smiled. You've changed. I hope so. You don't carry every problem by yourself anymore. I looked out the office window. I finally realized something. What? Helping people isn't the same as rescuing them. She nodded. That's a difficult lesson. It cost me 3 years, but you learned it. That weekend, I visited my parents. My mother noticed the difference immediately. You look lighter. I feel lighter. She squeezed my shoulder. I was worried. I know. You never complained. I should have. My father, who rarely spoke during emotional conversations, quietly set down his newspaper. Son. Yeah. Peace isn't something you find. He smiled faintly. It's something you stop giving away. His words stayed with me long after I drove home. Late one evening, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. Recognizing the handwriting took only a second. Chloe. I sat on my balcony before opening it. The letter wasn't an excuse. It wasn't a request. It was an apology. She admitted every lie, every compromise, every selfish decision. She wrote that losing everything had forced her to confront the person she had become. Near the end, one sentence stood out. You gave me the kind of love I didn't know how to value until I no longer had it. I folded the letter carefully, then placed it inside a drawer. Not because I wanted to preserve the relationship, because I wanted to remember the lesson. Forgiveness didn't require reopening closed doors. Sometimes it simply meant refusing to carry bitterness any longer. As the evening breeze drifted across the balcony, I looked over the city skyline. Months earlier, I had believed my life ended the night I left that rooftop party early. Now I understood something different. That night hadn't been the end of my story. It had been the first honest chapter of a life I was finally living for myself. Winter arrived quietly. 6 months had passed since I walked out of the rooftop party. Snow dusted the sidewalks outside Novalink's headquarters, and employees hurried through the revolving doors carrying steaming cups of coffee. Life had settled into something I once believed was impossible. Routine. Honest, uncomplicated routine. No checking my phone every 5 minutes. No wondering whether a delayed reply hid another lie. No exhausting conversations where I questioned my own instincts. Just work. Friends. Family. Peace. I was reviewing security proposals when my office phone rang. Daniel? It was Angela. Morning. I thought you'd want to know. I leaned back. What happened? Jason Reed accepted a plea agreement. I remained silent. He'll serve prison time. How long? Long enough. She paused. He also agreed to testify against several partners. So it's finally over. Legally, yes. She smiled through the phone. I figured you deserved to hear it directly. Thank you. After ending the call, I stared through the office window. Cars crawled through morning traffic below. People hurried toward destinations that mattered only to them. The world hadn't stopped because my heart had once been broken. It never had. Only I had. Now I wasn't. That evening, Marcus insisted we celebrate. One dinner. I don't need celebrating. You survived corporate fraud, emotional betrayal, and my terrible jokes. He grinned. That's worth steak. I laughed. You always find a reason. It's a gift. The restaurant overlooked the river. Nothing extravagant. Just warm lights, quiet music, and good food. Halfway through dinner, Marcus looked unusually serious. You know. What? I used to worry you'd become bitter. So did I. But you didn't. I almost did. What stopped you? I thought for a long moment. If I let hatred decide who I became. I smiled faintly. Then Jason would have stolen more than my relationship. Marcus nodded slowly. He would have stolen your future. Exactly. When we stepped outside, snowflakes drifted through the cold night air. Across the street, someone quietly spoke my name. Daniel. I turned. Chloe. She wore a simple gray coat. No designer handbag. No expensive jewelry. No carefully crafted image. She looked like someone who had spent months rebuilding herself from the ground up. Marcus glanced at me. I'll wait by the car. I appreciated that he never tried to interfere. Chloe approached slowly. I didn't expect to see you. I didn't expect to see you either. She smiled sadly. I heard about Jason. I heard too. She looked toward the river. I started volunteering. I remained quiet. Women's Financial Recovery Center. She gave a small laugh. The irony isn't lost on me. People can change. I hope so. A long silence followed. Then she reached into her coat pocket. I found something. She handed me a small velvet box. My engagement ring. The one I'd hidden in the apartment closet. I packed it when I moved out. She lowered her eyes. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. I accepted the box. Its weight surprised me. Not because of the diamond. Because of everything it represented. Dreams. Trust. A future that never existed. I'm sorry. She whispered it so softly I almost didn't hear. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. You already have it. She looked at me in disbelief. You forgive me? I forgave you months ago. Her eyes filled with tears. But forgiving you doesn't mean returning. I know, and I won't. She nodded. I wanted to hear you say it. Why? So I can finally stop waiting for a miracle that isn't fair to either of us. The honesty in her voice felt different from before. Not desperate. Accepting. She extended her hand. Goodbye, Daniel. I looked at it for a moment before shaking it. Her hand trembled slightly. So, does this make us strangers? She asked. I smiled gently. No. What does it make us? Two people who share an important chapter. And now we walk different roads. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she smiled through it. I hope someone loves you the way you deserved. I hope you learn to love yourself honestly. She nodded once. Then she turned and walked away. She never looked back. Neither did I. Spring arrived again. Exactly 1 year after the night I had left the party early. Novalink held its annual innovation conference. I stood on stage before hundreds of employees, presenting a cybersecurity platform my team had spent months developing. When the applause ended, I stepped down from the podium. Emily met me near the side entrance. Congratulations. Thank you. You look comfortable up there. I wasn't. She laughed. You hit it well. Outside, the afternoon sun warmed the city streets. Employees gathered in small groups, talking about projects, families, and future plans. Life continued, not because every wound had disappeared, because healing had quietly done its work. Marcus walked over carrying 3 coffees. I bought extras. Emily accepted one. You always appear with coffee. It's how I maintain friendships. We laughed together. Simple, natural, unforced. That evening, I returned to my apartment. The same balcony, the same city skyline. Only one thing was completely different. Me. I opened the velvet ring box one last time. The diamond reflected the setting sun. Once, it had symbolized the future I thought I wanted. Now it represented a lesson I would never forget. Love without honesty becomes sacrifice. Loyalty without respect becomes exploitation. Silence without boundaries becomes permission. I closed the box. The next morning, I donated the ring to a charity auction that funded scholarships for students studying computer science. It felt right, turning an abandoned promise into someone else's opportunity. As I walked out into the bright morning, my phone vibrated. A message from Marcus. Breakfast? I smiled and replied. Already on my way. I slipped the phone into my pocket and joined the flow of people moving through the city. No longer chasing someone who couldn't choose me. No longer carrying the weight of another person's decisions. Just walking forward. Calmly. Confidently. Knowing that the most important message I had ever received wasn't the anonymous warning that made me leave the party early. It was the quiet truth I discovered afterward. Sometimes the greatest revenge is never revenge at all. It's becoming someone whose peace can no longer be stolen.